Hello, friends, and welcome to Lesson 7, Teddy Roosevelt, in our CKLA domain 12 Presidents and U.S. Symbols. We have done a lot of learning over the last several weeks, and I'm curious, do you remember the names of the three former presidents that you see in this picture? On the count of three, tell me what you remember. 1, 2, 3. Wow, your brains are definitely engaged. I heard you say George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Abraham Lincoln. What a great way to start this lesson. So today I'm going to say a statement about one of these great men, and you are going to name which one of the three presidents the statement's about. Are you ready? Awesome. Remember, your choices are George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, or Abraham Lincoln. Here we go. This president was admired for his honesty, and he was the first president of the United States. Tell me the answer. That's it, George Washington. Awesome. These two presidents, so you're going to tell me two names now. These two presidents were two of the founding fathers who helped create the United States of America. All right, tell me your answers. Woohoo! George Washington and Thomas Jefferson is absolutely correct. How about this one? This man had a talent for writing and wrote the Declaration of Independence, a statement stating that the colonists were free from Great Britain and had the right to live and to be free and to be happy. Tell me now. You've got this. Thomas Jefferson is correct. This general fought Great Britain for American independence during the American Revolution. Who was it? That was tricky. Good for you for saying George Washington. Two more. This man became the third president of the United States. Who is he? Marvelous! Thomas Jefferson. There is no tricking you all today. Last question. This man was known as Honest Abe, and he was president during the U.S. Civil War. And he hid a paper under his hat that said enslaved people were set free. What was his name? Well, look at you. Abraham Lincoln is awesome. Alrighty, I see that you really have learned a lot about the presidents so far. In today's Read Aloud, we're going to hear all about Theodore Roosevelt, another great president. I want you to listen carefully about Roosevelt's early life and see how it affected his life as a president. And here's a challenge. Why is he going to be considered an important president? Today, we know him as Teddy Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States. But when he was young, his mother called him Theodore. When she introduced him to her friends, his friends called him TR, and when his father called him TD, especially when he wanted his son to remember something important. His given name was Theodore, but he had a lot of nicknames, didn't he? Another nickname for Theodore is Teddy. Teddy, his father might say, there is nothing more important than a good education. An education is what someone has learned. And Teddy would listen. Teddy Roosevelt always listened to what his father had to say. He was 6 years old. Teddy, his younger brother, and a friend were visiting their grandparents in New York City. But one day the children did not play as they usually did. On this day, they stood by a window with Teddy's father and watched as a train slowly rolled by. Mr. Roosevelt told the children, "Inside that train is Abraham Lincoln, the President of the United States." President Lincoln had died, and the train was taking him back to his home state for the funeral. A funeral is when people gather together to honor someone who has died. A lot of people loved Abraham Lincoln, Mr. Roosevelt continued, and thought he was a very good man. Think in your heads, what did Abraham Lincoln do that was really great? Absolutely. He was president during the Civil War and fought to keep our country together and freed enslaved people. People were sorry that President Lincoln had died. They gathered along the train tracks to show how much they would miss him. Thought about this for a moment and then asked his father, "Do you think President Lincoln was a good man, father?" Teddy greatly admired his father, so he wanted to know how he felt about the president. Mr. Roosevelt replied, "I think Abraham Lincoln was a great man and a great president." He continued, "A great president can help a lot of people and do a lot of good things. Abraham Lincoln came from a poor family, but he worked hard. He was smart and kind, so many people thought highly of him that he was elected president." Mr. Roosevelt told Teddy that Abraham Lincoln was a perfect example of why he should not judge or form an opinion about someone by the clothes that they wear or whether they live in a fancy part of town. He said, "Judge them instead by what they do and why." I want you to think about that until we listen to our next part of part 2 in Teddy Roosevelt.